Behold, it's Natalia. Let's go find some monkeys, shall we? Would you say sex is like riding a bicycle? Nothing gets me going like Christmas and wigs. Let's check out this show.
I remember the first creature I beheld. He was a squirrel. His name was Kevin.
I heard you need a DNA sample.
I want to find light and joy in things that bring us together and unite us. And I think science is something that can unite us. Ow. God damn.
There's a world out there, a world that needs to be beheld.
Behold. Welcome back, folks. I am Natalia Reagan. I'm a biological anthropologist, and you are watching Survival of the Filthiest, the live stream. I started this show because what the futz is happening? I mean, we're experiencing a war on science, healthcare, DEI, people of color, gays, bays, jetways, veterans, queers, engineers, the vax, paperbacks, teachers, creatures, women, and the drag community. I mean, come on. So, what better way to resist than to talk to scientists, comedians, and educators who may or may not dress in drag, who are creating some good trouble to move this country forward rather than 5,876 steps back? And here's a quick reminder to please like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy the show. And I have a Patreon if you want to help support the production. And today we're talking about math and drag. And today you also can call me Charlize Theorem. Yeah. So drag is not new at all. The ancient Greeks and the Romans did it. Shakespeare's actors did it too. And vaudeville and burlesque often leaned into gender bending beauty. Even classic films like Some Like It Hot, or more recent films like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Tu Wong Fu, La Cage aux Folles, Pink Flamingos, Paris and Burning. And of course, there's the long running, wildly popular RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, I don't know. I grew up loving Divine, who was introduced by John Waters in Pink Flamingos, but also I watched Divine when she played the mother of Ricky Lake in Hairspray. And I also struggled with math growing up. So, folks, was math a drag for you? Is it a drag for you? Well, it's about to become a lot more fun and fabulous. Because today I'm thrilled to be talking to my internet friend and drag icon, Carrie the One. She is a high school math teacher and amateur drag performer and has over 400,000 followers, probably even more at this point on TikTok and Instagram. Follow her. You need to follow her. Carrie makes fabulous and fun math videos for all ages. So please, a warm and fabulous welcome for the marvelous Carrie the One. Welcome.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hello, hello.
Oh my God, the queen is here. The tiara. Wow.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. I gotta say, if you're doing drag and you're not wearing a tiara, you're missing out.
I
Like,
feel bad.
what are you
Yeah,
even doing?
exactly. No. I have a tiara across the room. If my pug had opposable thumbs, I'd make her go fetch it. But
Ah,
there can only be one queen, and today it is you. Oh, I have so many questions. So I don't even know. We first, I think, met like in 2021, I believe, on the early days of TikTok.
yeah,
And I I loved your videos from the second I saw them.
that's so kind. I was certainly just throwing stuff at the wall at that point to see what stuck. I was still very much figuring out the drag portion of it, though I've been a math teacher for a good little while. And I was drawn to your videos more or less immediately because they are educational and fun. And I just any any confluence of those Venn diagram circles, I'm on board for.
Right? Exactly. And honestly, I've always wondered what came first for you? Drag or math? I mean, did you always
Definitely
love
math.
drag? Math?
Yeah, I've never had anything against drag. Though I had no cultural reference point outside of Tu Wong Fu and Pink Flamingos. It was not something that I ever just if only one day. Uh, but it was 2020. I was, kind of bored for something going on in that year.
Yeah,
I
I know.
had a lot of
It
free
was
time on my hands, and I knew I wanted to do a channel, and I was like, I do all these various costumes I have, but I don't want to explain why a werewolf is teaching you integrals. That seems kind of weird. I just had the idea, like, Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And Math is a Drag was born.
Oh my goodness, and it's absolutely brilliant, and I don't know, so how long have you been dressing in drag before you came up with Math as a Drag?
About a month. Like I
Did
really, I'd been in drag before. I live in a small town in Pennsylvania, and I do host our annual showing of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Uh, and so I would get one of my gal pals to do my makeup, and I'd show up in a full drag ensemble. But I didn't know how to do it, and I obviously can't ask for that every week. So about a month before I started the channel, I was like, all right, let's figure this out. And if you look at like my very first few Carry the One videos, it's a beginner. You just like, wow, that is, you do not have that figured out yet. And it's improved a little bit each year, which is cool.
I
But
feel
I
like
leave those
honestly I
videos. Okay.
no, no, go
So I leave those videos up because I think it's important. If you watch Drag Race, and you should, you're only going to see people who are just experts, who've been at it for a long time and are really good at what they do. And I think it can be like daunting. If you're 19 and whatever your gender, and just like, well, I'd like to try that. And you can look at that and say, oh man, I'll never be that good. But I'm pretty proud of where I've come and how I'm doing. But you can look back and say, 4 years ago, wow, that is, I can do better than that now. So I think it's important to show the progression, not just the end result.
absolutely, I mean, as a biological anthropologist, we're watching the evolution of Carrie the
Mhm.
One, of trying something out, and also I think it's such a I don't a brave endeavor to try something that is completely new to you in some ways. Like starting a channel like that is daunting in and of itself, right? And then, putting on a persona that you don't know how it's going to be perceived and how it's going to be received. And everybody, I feel like, loves what you do. And you get such a positive response. I know I've often said to you, I wish you were my math teacher. How often do you get that statement?
Very, very like often, and
Yeah.
it feels good every time. Uh, it's such a thoughtful thing for an educator to hear. You know, I like when people like my outfits. I like when people like my vibe. But the nicest thing is, I wish you were my math teacher. How does that not make you feel great? It makes me very happy.
Good. And I also know that a lot of people have been felt you have been so inclusive. You've included a community that oftentimes gets marginalized, kids that might be, queer and don't know how to walk through the halls of their high school. They see someone like you and feel, emboldened to be themselves. I mean, that must feel fantastic.
It really does, and it's sort of my penance. I can think back to I went to a very rural Pennsylvania high school, and I know our attitudes towards the LGBTQ kids were just not at all enlightened, right? We didn't talk about that in school, so we had ugly gay stereotypes from movies and TV shows. That's kind of what we had to go on. And you grow up and you get smarter and you meet more people, and I just thought, man, I wish we'd been better. And I went to be a high school teacher, and I thought, I wonder if this has changed. And I kind of found that it hadn't, which was really disappointing. So I wanted to do something. Said, well, all right, I'm going to do some small part, some small part of my penance to try to change that a little bit at a time. So it makes me really, really happy when people message me and say, thank you for being this example. It's
Oh,
awesome.
no, it's the best. And I want to know a little bit about how you got here. So, when did your love of math, become apparent? When was it like, oh, this is what I want to do with my life?
Very, very young age.
Yeah.
Apparently, the only way you could stop 2-year-old me from crying at the doctor's office is to give me like a calendar or something. Uh,
You've
so
always
yeah,
loved
no, it's
numbers.
always have apparently.
Really?
I was into it in high school. I majored in economics in college, and then I kind of got away from it for like 10 years. I was a bartender. I just did other things. I did a lot of theater during that time. And then was kind of not sure what I wanted to do with my career. So I became a math teacher, but now I have all this performance experience and all this teaching experience. And I was like, this seems like the perfect nexus of those things.
Absolutely. And I may have listened to a podcast where you said that you had a costume store at one point.
He did. That is a true story.
Wow.
That
How
is
long
a
did that last? And tell me about what was that
I bought
like?
a I love costumes. I've always enjoyed costumes. Again, something that drew me to your channel right away. I was definitely thrown out of a building on my college campus wearing a gorilla suit. Uh,
What?
I thought the prank was pretty innocuous. The dean of students did not feel the same way. And so, yeah, the club I was a part of in college, the president of the club gets a binder each year that has, club bylaws and also has a letter from the dean of students saying, don't be seen in a gorilla suit around these parts. And so when I go to meet alum, they're like, oh, you're that guy. Like, I very much am.
Oh my god, I love that you got written into the bylaws for a prank. That's amazing. And a
I did
gorilla
for a
suit.
gorilla suit prank, no less.
Oh my gosh, and I
Uh,
have so Carrie the One so graciously sent this to me, and I wore this mask. I'm not gonna put it on because, by the way, I put false eyelashes on for you today. It took about 7 tries because I'm not
yeah,
good at it. How long does it take you to put eyelashes on? I gotta know.
that is just 15 minutes, and it doesn't always go great. I'm going to get busted here because we're live. Uh, like, you don't see it in my videos because I'm shooting it 10 seconds at a time, so I can just like not blink. Or if it looks weird, I've got a different take. But you're going to notice once they like these giant eyelashes, once they start to go a little weird, I look like a broken Barbie doll. Like my eyes blink at different speeds. So I definitely,
What is it, the
uh,
Furby? I think of the Furby thing
uh-huh,
that, you know.
that's exactly what it looks like.
Well, you gave me this beautiful lady chimpanzee mask. I'm not gonna fully put it on because there you can kind of get the idea. I wore this in my burlesque debut. I just want to let you know. And
I saw it was awesome.
you, wow, I absolutely love her. I actually did her a couple weeks ago. She was making love to a giant stuffed banana, like one does. Yeah.
I brought the blonde wit in for exactly that reason.
Wait, what? We could do an act. We need to take this on the road.
Not saying, just saying. It's a lot easier to do the makeup when you're not, actually
Yes.
in
Oh my
makeup.
god. We could call
Yeah,
it, it's hard out there for a chimp. And
I
oh
bought a
my
costume
goodness.
store in like 2012, 13, and it was like right before the Amazon revolution. And
Yeah.
suddenly, and I'm not bitter about it, it's fine, but suddenly I own a blockbuster in the era of Netflix. Who wants to rent something? Like, oh, right, right,
Oh,
right. The costumes used to be something you rented, and then suddenly, like overnight, they weren't. And it was just that makes sense.
yeah.
So that is it was a fun thing. It taught me that I am much better as a teacher than as a business person. I enjoyed it, and I can hang my hat knowing every costume store closed. So it wasn't just me,
Yeah.
but also I don't think I want to do this.
I feel it's just all Halloween Town now. Halloween
Mm,
Town is the only costume store that's too bad because I love costumes. I grew up in the film industry. I live near across from Warner Brothers and Universal's right down the
yeah,
road. And
yeah,
those
I miss that
costume
stuff.
shops. Oh,
They're so cool, and they exist in some form, but it's
yeah,
you know, used to be you found like a cool hole in the wall store. Now you find a cool hole in the wall website. It's just,
right.
some guy in Indiana who makes this stuff. And you're like, oh, wow.
That's cool. Yeah. What, did you have a favorite costume?
It really was the gorilla. That's why it's the one I was like, you know, infamous for. So they were our store mascots. We have like guy and girl
Oh my
chimp
god.
masks. And they were sort of our mascots. That's why I had a bunch of them on hand. So I saw you and you were doing a video and you had like a chimp mask. It was like from the zoo gift shop. It was cool, but I was
Yes.
like, there's 5 of these really cool ones in my garage. I'm gonna like message this lady out of the blue and be like, if you
Oh.
would send me your address, I promise I'm not a stalker. I will send you a cool chimpanzee mask.
How excited was I when I opened that? I was like, "I have no idea what this is gonna be. This could, it could be anything."
Good to
Uh,
go.
I Could be a giant abacus, like really.
Yeah.
But I went bananas for it, folks. I love it. She is such a babe. I mean, look at her. Yeah, and I love that you have a blonde one, like the hot
Yeah.
blonde, and I have the sassy raven hair
Indeed.
vixen. Oh yeah, no.
Kind
I'm
of like
curious.
the
Mhm.
I like the dark haired one because it's sort of, it looks more like natural, even though it's a very unnatural looking
Yeah.
mask. But they're funny masks. There's no way to put one of those on and not just like look in the mirror and be
This is so good. This is so good.
like,
I wore actually I hybridized it because it was a gorilla costume because that's how they
mm,
sell them now, and I put pasties on rainbow pasties on the gorilla
mm,
costume. I
that's
found out that
nice.
E6000 does not work on plastic, so I had to safety pin them on. But I also sewed, well, no, let's be real. I glued a pink booty on the I can't sew. I need to learn how to sew.
No,
Pink booty
same.
on, right? It's tough. I had a pink booty on the actual gorillas or the chimpanzee, so it was anatomically correct because that's very important, when you do
You're a,
science
biologist. Come on.
communication. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'm curious, what math classes do you teach in high school?
I've taught most high school math. Right now, I mostly teach algebra 2.
Ooh,
Uh, yeah, it was just where my company had an opening, and I was like, all right, sure. But I've taught algebra 1, pre-calc, taught calculus, stats. If it's high school math, I've probably taught it to some extent.
do you have a favorite subject you like to teach?
I really like stats. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it gives you a little bit more real world to talk about. I
Hmm.
always try to tie my lessons to something in the real world as best I can. You can't do that for every single concept every single time, but I don't like a math class where it's just trust me, you'll need this. If the teacher can't tell you why this is important, it's not a good class. So stats, it's kind of like it's apparent, like the word
Yeah.
problems right there in the lesson. Like no, these are real world problems. Whereas with like algebra 2, what I teach, I have to do a little bit more. I'm honest with the students.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, listen, no,
Bit
I'm
more of a
teaching you
reach.
this so you can do this other thing that's useful. Like, I'm teaching you this so you can learn this. And from there, you can go to here. But if I can tie it to something useful in the real world, I do. But that is why
Yeah.
stats is my favorite.
Oh, that's great. And actually we're going to play we're going to play a few of your videos through this show because they are so good. And I just want people to have a taste and you must follow Math is a
Please do.
Drag on all the platforms. So we're going to, Peter, if you can roll the first, and shout out to my producer, Peter, if you could roll the first video, that would be grand.
Subtracting from 10 is a pain because you're going to have to borrow. But subtract a penny from the top and a penny from the bottom, same answer, no borrowing. And this works with any number that has zeros on the end. One from the top, one from the bottom, piece of cake. Till next time.
See? I didn't know. Nobody taught me that.
Right?
It's such an easy little thing to do that, it's
Mhm.
one of those little great tricks that I feel like it also makes math like a game. It's fun, because it kind of
Yeah.
is a game.
I like that video specifically. That was one of my most watched videos because it applies always. I think if you watch a lot of math content, like some of us do, you'll get, oh, here's a cool trick that works in this very specific situation, or here's a hack for a very specific type of problem, and you're like, that's great. So I'm gonna commit this to memory and then be able to use it 1 out of 100 times. That's not really actually that helpful. But you're always subtracting. You're making change at the grocery store. You're going to make subtracting from 20, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm always
So
a little slow that way. I need a moment. I have to sit there and this just takes that stress out of that moment. And all of a sudden you feel like a superstar because it really is empowering kids, I think, from feeling like they can do anything, you know?
I think so, or at least I'm trying to help them think so. That is part of my message. I know, like obviously, out of drag, I am he him, and I did grow up a boy, and I was always super encouraged with math stuff and to just watch the inequality there. So not only do I want to make math accessible, frankly, to everyone, but specifically for women, for the LGBTQ plus crowd, I want math to be less of a boys' club. And this is sort of one way in which I'm trying to make that happen. I get to
That's
do it
great.
in my real life as a high school teacher, just get to encourage everybody in my class, not just the boys. But also, one of my missions, kind of for Math is a Drag, was to take the boys' clubbiness out of math.
Yeah. And you work in sort a rural area, correct?
I do.
Okay. And do you still see or feel in the classroom that young women feel like they're just not as good at math and science? Are you getting that vibe? I know things have shifted, but I wasn't sure if in your area, if it maybe has stayed
They
the
have
same.
shifted.
Okay.
They are shifting slowly. It is still, the remnants of that boys' club still remain. They're not nearly as strong as they once were, which is awesome. Uh, but we still do just it's internalized. We just expect guys to be better at math and women to be better at English, and there's no reason for any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's such an arbitrary and silly sort of presumption that I think
Yeah.
it can be so harmful. I know that I loved animals, wanted to be a zoologist growing up, but when I got to high school, it was actually algebra 2. Poor Mr. Trahan. He was an older gent. He served in the Korean War. I do remember that. We heard stories about the war, but remember the whole like I will not talk in class, like you would write like 200 times, I will not talk in algebra 2 class. I
Oh
actually
yeah.
got in trouble once and I had to do that on the chalkboard like
Oh
Bart
wow.
Simpson. Yeah, in Mr. Trahan's class. I'm dating myself, but I just it didn't ver it it was tough, and I remember letting that deter me from going into the sciences, and it wasn't until I went back and I took stats, which is so applicable in day-to-day life, and I have friends who are data scientists that use it all the time to, break down so the numbers tell a story, which I think is so cool. I
Mhm.
think people forget that they're not just numbers, that numbers can actually, tell a story. And I feel like your videos do that. They tell a story, which is so special.
I really appreciate that. I do try. I know you'd ask me if we could figure out the tech involved in like getting me to present something
Yeah.
today, and I had to come clean and tell you, oh, it's not going to be as interesting as you think it is, because when it's all edited together nicely, I can use them to tell this story, and it's not lost on me like the incredible technological advances that I can like make this cool thing with my phone. It's just, I mean, yes, it takes some skill on my end, but like just that the technology exists is so neat. Um, but like live, it's a math class.
Yeah.
I'm pretty entertaining. I'll tell you a fun story while we're talking. It's just a math class. There's kind of nothing special about it live. I think
Right.
it's what's so neat about social media as a platform for this. And 25 years ago, all right, maybe it's a public access TV show, but still, when you can take 2 hours to make a 2-minute video, yeah, of course it tells a story. It should tell a story if you know what you're doing. Live, it's just not going to work the same way. So I do. People ask me like, "Are you this interesting in your regular math class?" And like, no, of course not. I do my best. I think for a high school teacher, I'm pretty darn fun. Thank you. But like, it's not this.
Yeah. It's hard. So yeah, I was a biological anthropology professor and people would say, "Oh my god, your video, based on your videos, you must be, who?" And I think I am, but at the same time it's tough because it's not stand-up comedy, like
Mhm.
you can throw in a lot more fun stuff or visuals as you're doing, like you said, a condensed, distilled 90-second, 2-minute, 3-minute long video. But if it's, I mean, I've taught 5-hour classes, you know what I mean? Like they are tired of me.
Right.
I will pay you to
And
leave, please. Yeah.
as someone with a little bit of experience in stand up as well, you sense when the audience is just, oh, they don't sick of me. And like, I still got a half hour of class left.
Oh god.
There's
Well,
nothing you can really do.
are you still doing stand up?
The open mic I do locally, and I've done a couple hundred of them at this point. Recently, kind of the venue it was at stopped, so we're waiting for it to pick back up. But
Okay.
in theory, yes. But right this minute, no, for detail reasons.
No, I get it. I'm curious though, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, could Carrie the One go on tour?
It'd be interesting. I don't know if
Yeah.
there'd be. I mean, I am a teacher. I could make it work in the summer for sure. I would have a built-in free amount of time. I don't know what a live carry the one show would be.
I
Like
have
because
thoughts.
I'm not terrific at again a live presentation of some lesson is not going to be that interesting. Is it? I'd have to put some thought into what a live show would be. Is it a stand-up bit? Is it a you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know it's
But
tough.
I've had people ask. They're like, "We'd love to like meet you and see you do something." And I was like, "I would also like that. As soon as I figure out what it would be to be there, not just like, well, hello."
Yeah. Well, I feel like it is nice to get out and meet folks, but you do kind of walk this line between like you have your two different personas, right? I mean, you have you go by Mr. H, right?
I do.
Okay, Mr. H, and then you have Carrie the One. I mean, do your students, as far as I know, they don't know about your Carrie the One persona, or do they?
A couple of them have stumbled onto it. It's not a secret, and I'm honest about it when they do. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll answer your questions if you want to know. My school has been so cool about this. They're like, don't mention us by name in your videos. And if you think about it for a minute, you're like, yeah, of course. That's just going to be a liability. That's going to be a headache they don't need. But like, we support the crap out of this. It's so cool that you're doing this. Like, we're an educational institution. How could we possibly not like this? So that's awesome. And I'm big on the fact that it's not a secret because I think a secret, especially to high school and middle school age kids, implies shame. Like, there's nothing for
Yeah.
them that occupies a space that is private but not shameful, right? If they're hiding something, it's because they don't want you to know because there's shame tied to it. And I think drag is such a positive, proud thing. I will not cloister it in shame. So it's an open secret. I don't tell them about it, but once in a while they do find me. They're like, Mr. H, I was watching a drag queen on TikTok the other night, and boy, sounds a lot like you and writes a lot like you. And I'm like, what are the odds?
Actually, you probably could do a video on the odds, couldn't you?
I
You probably
probably could.
you probably could. That would actually there you go. Wow, I was gonna say because you do have a recognizable voice, I would probably wait a minute. Wait one
You
fandangled minute. I love that.
I don't disguise my voice, and partly it's because I'm not very good at it. For me to like hit a higher register, I can't sound like I'm doing a bad Jennifer Coolidge. It's not. It's all breathy. It's not very forceful, and I'm like, oh, I'm a teacher, and let's face it, it's the title of the channel is Math is a Drag. It's not like you don't know I'm a guy.
Right. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
if you meet me in person, I'm pretty tall. And just no point are you going to think, who is that very tall woman? You're like, drag queen, neat.
Yeah, right? Oh, man. Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I've had some students that follow me on social media, and I get a little nervous because I do cover spicy or animal topics, and I'm just like, "Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, gosh." But, what are you gonna do? At the same time, again, you don't wanna hide because that, like you said, implies shame, and there's nothing shameful about educating the public because that's what you're doing,
That's
and you're
the way
about
I feel.
yeah, and and drag has, comes in so many art forms, I mean, there's ways of doing it sort of raunchy, silly, playful, irreverent, and you are about the most wholesome drag queen I know. So how did you come up with Carrie the One? Like, was there like a aha moment?
I told you I did stand up, and I talked to my punniest friend, and I messaged her and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna do this math drag channel. Like, what are some good math drag names?" And we both came up with a list, and Carrie the One was on both of our lists. And I said, "Done,
It's
serendipity.
so
That's
good.
easy."
Yeah. Oh no, that's so great. Did you celebrate Pi Day, by the way?
I did with my
Do you
class.
celebrate
Yeah,
Pi
I
Day?
usually do a Pi Day video. I didn't for Carrie. I didn't make one this year, but I did celebrate with my my in real life class. Uh-oh. If you just said something, you
This is the
froze on
fun
my
part of the
end.
show
That's
where my camera goes out. Forgive me.
okay.
Are you there?
I am there. Are
So
you there?
sorry.
Not a
I
problem.
am. I live in a metropolis, yet my internet is subpar. Wait, go on. Sorry.
No, I celebrated Pi Day with my class. We went over the history of pi. I took some time and just said like, all right, we're gonna do a little bit of extracurricular math learning, and they're like, is this gonna be on the test? I'm like, obviously not. They're like, then we're not gonna pay that much attention. And I was like, yeah, that tracks, but I enjoyed it, so that's the important part.
There you go. Um, what were by the way, what were some of the other names that you came up with? Some fun pun math names. I love good puns.
It's harder than you think. Yeah, I'd have to dig out my list. I know we were like geometric. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, it's kind of, we just try to find something that like it's like calculus. No, that kind of
Yeah,
sucks.
right.
And we just sort of there wasn't other real good options. I won't lie. Both of us came up with a couple that we were like medium on, and we're like, I think Terry the one's the best one, and she felt the same way. And I was like, done. There wasn't like a second place though, if I'm being honest. It
Right.
was harder than than I thought it would be because I'm usually pretty good at that game. And it's like I could go up with a drag name for insert profession here, and if you give me a few minutes, I'll come up with a couple of good ones. We really
Okay.
didn't. Like this is harder than I thought.
This is it. Yeah, and are have you done performances in drag in your area?
Yeah, Carrie hosts things a lot.
She
I do
does?
love burlesque, but I am not a dancer. I'm a performer and a stand-up. So I often get asked to MC those shows. So I'll be emceeing a burlesque show next month. I'll be emceeing a glam rock and roll show in a couple of weeks. I
Where would those
emceed a
places be?
wedding last month.
What? Really?
So yeah, Carrie does do public appearances, but again, I am not a dancer. I'm not a lip syncer. Maybe I'll learn someday, but I don't really have that skill set that a lot of drag queens do. So I kind of end up using my performance skills instead of going down that path.
Yeah, well, comedy, I mean, that's good enough. I mean, really, like comedy and first of all, you're killing it in the makeup game. And I
Thank
feel like were there drag icons that you looked up to or makeup tutorials that really got you through this process?
No. In fact, I really should have watched more. Like, I watched so few tutorials because I kind of wanted my own style. So, like, I really like what I did do because I was trying to do this channel is I would always have to spend 2 hours editing, like looking at my work. So each week I'd say, like, oh my God, those eyebrows are way off. Like, that looks terrible. And I like, it wasn't just like, yeah, erase it and try again. It was like, nope, I'm going to look at it and think, all right, next time you do this, those need to be lower. Next time you do that, those need to be in more. And so, yeah, my failures were kind of my tutorials. But I'm happy because, I mean, obviously, it's only but my style is mine. I didn't just watch this person. I didn't watch, Trixie Mattel, who was awesome, but like I didn't watch her videos and say, I'll be like that. I kind of learned to do it my way, which was cool.
Oh my God, I feel like there should be a song called My Way. Wait a minute. That is your drag anthem. Oh, wow.
It
So
is.
I'm yeah, because I was gonna say, like, how long does it take to get this look down? Like, when you come
It
home.
takes me about okay, so I have to shave. And I always just I save up my beard. Uh, I'm a brunette, so like I have to shave. I have a 5 o'clock shadow by noon. And I'm a brunette and I'm kind of Italian, so it comes in thick. So half an hour to like shave and shower and get a blank slate, and then probably 2 hours in makeup, uh, and then half hour to get dressed, depending. So if I decide to shoot, I think 3 hours is probably the minimum. If I
Really?
want to
Wow.
shoot at 4 p.m., I need to be in the shower by 12:45 or 1.
This is a math problem in the
And
making
then,
right here. Yeah.
yeah,
If there's a show shoot at 4:45 in Philadelphia and
no, I'm doing that math a lot.
Yeah.
It's,
And do you do, multiple videos at a time? I know as somebody who does this as well, I know it's a lot of writing, a lot of work. Do you spend a lot of
yeah,
time on that? So,
I
do you
do
do 'em in
spend a
bulk?
decent amount of time writing, which is a lot of my homework. Uh, in addition to the performing, yeah, it's writing, editing, hosting, doing all that stuff, which is does take a lot of time. So if I'm getting made up, I try to get 3 videos shot. I'll like do two in one costume, and then I'll take a half hour and like rest my feet because heels, and then
Yeah.
I'll change my dress, but I'll leave all the makeup. So I'll like pick a different outfit. Like right now, I'm wearing purple, a purple palette kind of on my face. I'll just pick a another dress that goes with it, and that's kind of my secret is if I'm doing like a gold makeup look, I've got two outfits that go with it.
Mhm.
And so I'll shoot a video and I'll change clothes. So it like, oh, it's different, but like I didn't. It's not a different day. I just did it
Exactly.
a little bit later. Yeah,
No, I was gonna say, and how do you reuse your eyelashes? Because 'Cause I'm looking at those, and those are some fierce lashes. Are those a one and done, or can you do them a couple times?
I do.
Wow.
I get uh, maybe 5 or 6 uses out of them.
Yeah.
I do my best to clean them up afterwards, and then once they are kind of too cakey to go on anymore, and like they really are like chunky, and my blinking doesn't look right, I'll take them out, put them on a mask. So I will
Oh.
take like my chimp, and she'll get yeah. I'll
Oh,
take
that's so
eyelashes and put them on like
smart.
one of those. Yeah. So they do live on. My eyelashes once they're too beat up for me to use anymore.
You repurpose them in such a perfect way.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have just inspired me. Because 'Cause I'm like, "What am I gonna do with these lashes other than, like, creep somebody out and just, like, put them on their, counter or
Yeah.
something, just leave them there, and
Yeah.
what the hell's this?" You know?
Stick them on a Halloween mask, and now that mask is so much
Oh.
creepier. Yeah.
Oh, I yeah, and I love that. I have Dolores the clitoris, my puppet, actually, her lashes need to be redone. Her lashes are
Oh
real
yeah.
wonky right now. Oh, yeah, I've seen a she's all tore up right now. Poor girl's seen a lot of craziness, but yeah, so now I know what I need to do with my bigger lashes. I need to slap those
Yeah.
on good old Dolores.
That's
I wanna talk to you
exactly where
about
they go.
shoes. I think of
Mhm.
Kelly and I think shoes. Tell me about you've got a great collection of shoes. How many pairs of Wicked boots do you own? I swear you have so many.
I'm gonna say maybe like a dozen.
That's good.
And the nice thing, I'm an adult, so my feet aren't growing anymore. So they do last. And also, I'm not hitting the runway. I'm not in a burlesque show. I'm pretty much putting them on, standing there for a half an hour, you know, and then taking them off. So they're all in great shape. They do last me, which is really cool. Uh, I am lucky for a relatively big guy. I have feet that are just small enough that you can like find regular women's shoes in that size.
Oh, that's
I wear a
great.
13 ladies, which is like an 11 guys. And that's like where most manufacturers, that's like where they stop. I
Right.
feel, I totally feel for a queen with like size 15s where you're just like, You're
That
gonna get these custom made. That's it.
yeah,
If
because
that
I
was
mean,
me, I would have one pair.
oh, that would be
Yeah,
so
I'd have one
tragic.
cool black pair and like make them work for everything.
I know. I used to work on the Drew Carey show many moons ago, and I remember there was a stand-in on the show that stood in for Ryan Stiles, and he's 6'6" or
8?
something. Yeah,
Yes, and
or
he's huge. I
7.
know.
He's huge. And Ryan's great. He's awesome, but the guy was not that tall. And so he took tennis shoes and he just created a platform. I don't know if the wardrobe department did it, but like, he had to make his own because he was tall, big enough where
Mhm.
he couldn't just go to a store. But I feel like with the I mean, obviously the uptick of, drag performers and, trans women out there, that we have more options for shoes for of various sizes, which I think is great as well. Um,
It's starting to come along. You can get more stuff than you used to, that's for sure.
And that's another thing, I think you're okay talking about this. I mean, you are not you are I don't know, would you say identify as straight or, queer or part of the
I think
LGBTQIA community?
I think I'm LGBTQIA extremely adjacent.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I am straight as my gender goes. I think if they them was a thing 20 years ago, and I know obviously, people in the community have always existed, but like if that was presented as an option, I just said, that might describe me more. I don't
Yeah,
feel a need to switch now,
right.
but I think that's probably where I would have landed. Uh,
Sure.
it's been really cool. The LGBTQIA community, if anybody really wanted to pick nits, like, hmm, are you really part of it? And it's like, they haven't been that way. They've been totally inclusive and cool,
Yeah.
and it's been nice. But yeah, no, I am straight as sexuality goes.
Well, that's what I think is interesting is just this idea we've sort of conflated this idea of sexuality with gender. For years,
Mhm.
people assume that, they're the same, and it's really, really not at all. And that
Right,
gender and sexuality and even sex, if we're going to talk about biological sex, still exist on a spectrum. And that's something that's so
right.
important, I think, and beautiful, given what you do and how so many, I feel like people that identify as maybe they have been raised or thought they were a cis, gender man can put
Uh-huh.
on a dress and put on heels, and it doesn't affect other parts of their life, right? I think there's just such a welcoming aspect to that, and I think that given like what watching your videos, people don't you don't have to fit into some sort of box, right?
I think that's one of the main messages I want to get out there. I said I don't typically advertise my sexuality. Obviously, that'd be kind of weird. But I think it is. I think so many straight guys, especially, there's that toxic masculinity, and it's just, hey, you can be pretty and you can have fun playing dress up, and those
Yeah.
things are normal and healthy and fun. And maybe if you see somebody else that way, you'd feel that way, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like
The-
the sorry, go on.
No, no, I just that is. I know for me, younger me would have been. I would have felt the need to qualify it. I'm just
Yeah.
doing it because, well, there's an event, there's a, and it's like, buddy, you can just do this. You can just
Yeah.
decide, you know why I look pretty today? Because I wanted to look pretty today. And that's fine.
Which I love. Yeah, and I think that's what it's a lot of these laws that are attempted to being passed, about banning drag performances, I think are incredibly rooted in fear of what people don't understand. And, it's just such a strange place to come from, watching somebody's joy and just wanting to dismantle it, and I feel like there's nothing more beautiful than seeing joy coming from any community, right?
Right.
You know?
Terribly disappointing, honestly. And we'll see where it heads.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that the show of support has been pretty overwhelming. So it's I don't know what laws will get passed. I don't know what, none of us do.
Yeah.
But I do know that like the kids are all right, the
Yeah.
young people that I get to interact with on Insta and TikTok, they know what's up. They know what's real. And they know those laws are BS.
Yeah, it's like you can
Am I allowed to
curse. You're
swear on
allowed.
here?
I
Okay,
know, I know, I know, I know. You're allowed to. I just also know that you're it's up to you.
oh no, I have a sailor mouth. I just didn't want to be
Me
didn't want
too.
to
No,
break one out and then have you go like, oh, we gotta cut that.
no, I say fuck all the time. Even
Okay.
on here. Fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck. I'm doing it again. No, it's I had some right before we started this, there was a man that decided I don't know this person, but he slipped onto my Facebook page to call me a I believe a crack mama and an idiot, and yeah.
Ooh,
But it was like his whole comment was rooted in fear and just wanting to just dress down somebody who's having a good time, and it wasn't about this per se. It was more about some other rules that were sort of introduced that were hedging into discrimination, in another way.
uh-huh,
And it was just again realizing and trying, and I've had people on in recent weeks about radical empathy and for people that might not understand it, and realizing that a lot of them might have the desire to do what you do, uh,
right.
and it's just internalized either transphobia, homophobia, and the best thing we can do is just kind of keep doing it. Uh,
Yeah, that's really where I've landed is, I think, what could I do? And I thought, I'm kind of already doing it.
yeah,
It's, hey, look at me doing a regular job and having a lot of fun and being a goof and just enjoying this. I think that is what I can do. So I'm going to do it until they stop me.
you are the resistance.
Yes.
And speaking of that, I want to show another one of your videos because like you said, you do great videos that really put the math problems in real life terms, and I feel like you sent me some great ones that I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this
Yeah.
in my day to day." So Peter, if you want to roll the second video,
How do we
go for
estimate
it.
square roots? You've probably memorized the perfect squares 9, 16, 25, and so on. But what do we do with the square root of 28? Here's what we'll do. First, we'll find the nearest perfect square below our number. In this case, that's 25. The square root of 25 is 5, so our answer must be 5 and part of a whole. Next, we're going to estimate that part using a fraction. For the numerator, we're just going to take our number minus the perfect square. 28 minus 25 is 3. For the denominator, we're just going to double our whole number. Double 5 is 10. So our estimate is 5 and 3/10, or 5.3. The actual square root of 28 is irrational. It's going to be a decimal that goes on forever. But look how close we came. We'll do one more. Let's estimate the square root of 40. The closest perfect square below 40 is 36. So we know our answer will be 6 and part of a whole. And again, we'll estimate that part using a fraction. Our numerator will be our number minus our perfect square. 40 minus 36 is 4. And our denominator will be double our whole number. Double 6 is 12. So our estimate is 6 and 4/12, or 6.3 repeating. The actual square root of 40 will be irrational. It'll be a decimal that goes on forever. But look how close we came. And that's all there is to it. Till next time.
Oh my god. See, yeah, I wouldn't know any, and this is great. I'm never gonna have to think about this again. Are you wearing the
Yeah.
same dress, by the way,
I,
right
I
now?
I realized I sent you two clips and now I'm wearing that exact dress. I swear I own more dresses.
That's
Not
okay.
just
No,
the one.
it's fabulous, and you got legs for days, Carrie.
I
Legs for days. If I may say so, you gams, gams.
indeed.
Yes, you don't miss those leg days. Uh,
No, I think part of doing drag, and a piece of advice for someone looking to get into it is, listen, some of the things about you are going to sort of help. Are going to help the illusion, and some of the things, or things we want to change. Not that you aren't perfect, but like in terms of trying to look more feminine. Uh, so you'll notice all of my wigs are in front of my shoulders because if I let them out, you're like, Boy, that illusion is just not quite being pulled off here. So always wigs in front of my shoulders. But if I may borrow a John Mulaney line, ha ha ha, look at that high waisted man. He got feminine hips. Well, that's me. So I always try and see if I can get my long legs kind of sell the illusion a little better. So I try to make sure you can see them.
That's great. No, you're working with what you got, which is what
Yeah.
we all do, right? I mean, I
Mhm.
got short legs, so I gotta like fake the height. I'm not a very tall person, so I've gotta, and oh, actually, hold on. You'll appreciate these shoes. Uh,
Oh, wow.
because
I
how
will
tall are
appreciate those
you?
shoes.
You're
I'm 6'2".
you're 6'2". Oh
I am.
my gosh. And so when you put on your big old shoes, you're about
Yeah.
7 foot tall in some of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
am I am
god.
often, and again, if I was 5'8" and like, maybe the whole illusion you'd say, "Ooh, is that a woman? No, no, look closer, it's a drag queen." You weren't gonna see me in flats and wonder.
Yeah.
So I might as well be 7 feet tall. You know what I
Lean
mean? I
in.
might as well. I think my kind of home fashion statement is like Vegas showgirl.
Oh, I
That's
love
where
it.
I always kind of try to go.
Oh, that's so much fun. And oh my God. Yeah. And the headdresses too, you do great,
Yeah.
like fun. I mean, I love headwear. I think it's such a fun way to just, I mean, accentuate not just your height, but just, I don't know, you feel like such a goddess, right?
That's it. That's it. How
Yeah.
do you not feel like, oof, look at me?
So do you have
It's
any, sorry.
no good.
Well, do you have any drag friends in your part of the world that you can, I guess, drag out with? I don't know. Is that a thing? It should be a
No,
thing.
that's the official term. Yeah.
Yeah, drag out, drag out.
uh, Not really. I do know some other local queens, and I said I will MC the shows, so I do meet them. But like, no, this is that's the only thing I sort of don't like about it. It's a by myself project. I've connected with so many people. I've gotten messages from like literally all over the world, which is awesome. But like the actual writing and performing is really solitary.
Yeah.
Uh, I haven't gotten back into theater much after COVID. I got out of the habit and I just haven't gotten back into it yet. I will. Uh, what I really miss about it is just that's where a lot of my friends were made. So many of my local friends were theater friends. And it's like, I kind of missing that specific part of it.
Right? The camaraderie too, it's
Become-
just it's
Mhm.
yeah, it feels good. I used to work on well, theater, but also I worked in the film industry for years, and so there's something to be said for like being on a set 16
Yeah,
hours a day, 5 days a week. You know what I mean? You're just like you love and hate each other and I'm
it's
still friends.
exhausting, but you make the
Yeah.
best friends you'll ever make. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know way too much about each other. It's so much. It's so great.
Yeah.
Uh, I do burlesque now, and it's not the same in terms of the time we're together, but at least it feels like even though we're doing separate acts, there's a support system. I really hope you get to come out to LA sometime. Seriously, I mean, first of all, there's so many great, drag brunches and drag performances. I even, I don't, it was back during COVID. I did a show called Science is a Drag that was a virtual comedy show. I don't know if they're still
Okay.
doing it, but I feel like, that's why I was like, it would be so great I would love to see that you teaming up with, on the road. I just feel like I want to see that show just because I think you're so wildly entertaining. Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I said it gives me something to do. I am a high school math teacher, and that's a lovely thing to be. But I think if I wasn't doing this, I'm kind of bored. I'd be like, all right, what?
What
That's not how I'm
next?
going to define myself. What else do I do?
Yeah. As for theater, did you have a favorite role that you played?
I will come across a little bit braggy. Probably I played Hamlet.
Ooh, when did you
Yeah.
wow, that is amazing.
Mhm.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah. I had a crappy job that summer, and I had nothing else to do but memorize 1,200 lines of Shakespeare.
Dear
So I
Lord.
did. Yeah, it was so many lines. it was such a great part. It was wonderful. It was, again, and the whole show is around you, and it was the cast was so cool, and they supported me in this meaningful way. Oh my god, that the number of lines was really wild.
That is, I mean, are you good at memorizing? Is that something that is
I
it
am,
stick?
yeah,
You are. I was
it
gonna s
does.
okay.
But I'm
Yeah.
an etch a sketch. So whereas like some of my
Oh,
friends could still do the show the next year, a month after the show, it's gone.
it just poof
I think,
out of your
yeah,
head. Huh.
yep.
Oh, that's
No
wild. That's
one memorizes lines faster, but nobody forgets them faster either.
right. What is there a role that you've always dreamt of playing?
Great question. I want to play Wadsworth in Clue.
Ooh, oh my
Yeah,
god, Clue. Yes, that would be amazing. And
that's
why?
the one I
Why
want to play.
what about that role does it for you?
Oh, it's one of my favorite comedy movies ever. It's Tim Curry. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That seems like so much fun. Uh, I did get to play Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire, which was fun.
Oh gosh, that is
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
Stella. Oh
no,
man.
yeah. It's the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Well, I want that for you. I hope that you can get back into the theater world some way. I
Yeah,
know,
I say I'll pick it back up at some point. This has been my theater fix for the here and now.
right? That yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of those things that I mean, how have you grown and I guess developed the character of Carrie the One? Do you feel like she's still evolving? What do you see next for
You
her?
mentioned earlier, like you said, your whole thing, you're very wholesome, and I'm like, yeah, because I'm a teacher. Again, if you saw my stand up, I'm not horrible, but like, yeah, it's not squeaky clean. Of course not. Um, but I feel like because I'm coming at you as a teacher, I don't want to be filthy. I don't want to, it is, I say PG, very occasionally PG-13 is kind of my thing. Uh, I'm a little wary about developing totally a character as Carrie who has traits that I don't have. And that
Mm,
kind of comes down to like the nature of drag, all right, I'm a female impersonator. And with the history of drag, like where it's sort of half fashion show, half roast, that is so tied to gay culture. And that feels a little bit, if I just try to do a drag race thing, that would feel a little bit appropriation y. That's a word. I'm a teacher. I said it's a
yeah,
word, so it's a word.
it
Uh,
works.
and also just all right, so I'm dressing up as a female. If I'm like, and now I'm going to be catty, you're like, I mean, what does that say about my opinion of women?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought, so honestly, Carrie it's me. It's me with a little more confidence and, a little bit, maybe a little sassier, but like, I'm not really playing a character. It's me. And that is by design. I can play characters. I'm very good at it. Thank you. But I'm not playing a character here because of the implications therein. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That is something I put some thought into, and it's like, ugh, whatever traits I would take on, why? Like you're gonna have to
right?
justify this decision, and I'm not gonna be able to. So how about we wholesome? We do lots of empathy, lots of
Yeah.
rising tide lifts all boats, lots of good vibes. That's the woman I want to be. So that's how we do this.
I love that though. I mean, I get that because it's easy to fall into the stereotypes or the tropes, right? And then it's like, ooh, why are we doing that? Um,
Right. Well, and as
yeah,
a straight drag queen, doubly so.
yeah,
That's not my stereotype to uh, inhabit rather.
yeah,
I was like, that didn't sound right. Yep, there it is.
yeah,
And so there was something I put a lot of thought into, especially early on, because I just kind of like jumped into the pool and then was like, I'm going to be able to justify the decisions I'm making here. And that's kind of where I've landed and why.
yeah. Do you have any advice for people that want to do content creation or educational videos?
Uh, make them. You have to just make them. I think so many people have ideas and they put so much thought into what this would be or what this could be, and what they should do is turn the camera on and make a 1 minute video and see what you've got. And by the time you make 10 of those videos, you won't need my advice anymore. Everybody put so much thought into, oh, it could be this, it could be this. They plan it out in their head 100 times. This is true of stand up as well. Like, how do you prepare for stand up? You don't. You write some jokes and you try them out
Yeah.
and you get better at it each successive time. That's this. That is true of content creation, and that is true of drag. People ask, how do I get good at drag? Should I watch tutorials? I'm like, yeah, you should probably watch more than I did, but eventually you're going to be standing there with like a couple of tubes of, face paint effectively. You're just going to have to start smearing it on your face and hoping for the best. And it's going
Right.
to look bad the first time, and it's going to look a little bit less bad the second time. And then, by the time you've done it 10 times, you're like, who's that? Ooh. And then it's fun. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Then you've got the expertise to like say, who's she? Ooh.
I know. No, I think it's great that you actually just did it trial and error. And I think that's what a lot of things are when it comes to science communication, or even just, I mean, science in general or math in general. I mean, it's just testing things out. And when I mean, we always see the successes, we don't see the failures, unless, like I have some early videos, like you were saying, where they're like, oh, I kind of cringe, where I'm like, oh, it's so slow. I look weird, or like the choice is not the best, but
Same for
it's
sure.
who cares? It's like, then it's honest. Then it's honest. There's a
Mhm.
progression. And I also think it's a time capsule, right? Like it's a time capsule of your own progress, and you can see how far you've come, and even
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that you did it. You were like, I had
Mhm.
an idea and I just threw it at the wall
Yep.
and
And I can look at
boy, did
like
it
my
blossom.
early efforts and say like, wow, all right, my makeup's come so far, but also my editing has come so far. Like, this
Yeah.
looks so clear. My early video, it's so clunky, and the graphics are so bad. And now I'm like, that's slick. Like, yeah, look at
Yeah.
me. It's
Yeah.
incrementally over time, and like, wow, I'm really happy with where this has landed.
Right. I'm going to ask you a technical question because I'm just
Yeah.
curious. What do you use to edit your videos?
I use CapCut.
Same. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You do such a great job.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
My first 50 videos I did like in TikTok in the app, and it's just not a very powerful editor, and just I'm spending a lot of time to just try and fix easily fixable errors. I thought, all right, I've got to do something better, and CapCut has been. I'm really impressed with them.
yeah.
Uh, so many features, so many neat things you can do, and I really, really hope we don't lose access to it. When TikTok was like debating going away in January, I was like, all right, that really hurts my feelings, but okay, I'll get over it. But CapCut was going to go with it. And I was like, no,
No.
I have no plan for fixing that. Like, I tell you, I'm an expert video editor. Like, no, I'm an expert at that
Yeah.
program.
No, the same thing. I had a friend that was like, "Oh my god, do you edit your videos?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I edit on CapCut. Like I can't do After Effects and all the right? All the wacky things that we do in that app
Yeah, I'm sure I
are
could
a whole other
learn, but like,
yeah.
oh boy.
I
Yeah.
know. No, I just think it's incredibly impressive, and it's so funny when I was setting up the last video, I thought it was the video we're gonna play next because I was like, "Oh yeah, I use this all the time in my real life." And I was like, "Oh wait, no, you don't walk around trying to figure out the square roots of things." Although, who knows? You never know. I mean, yeah, actually, that's a good question. I've never really thought about that. When is it have you ever had a moment in your day to day life that you're like, I need to know the square root of 25? I mean, obviously, that's an easy one, but like,
Not too often. Maybe if you're like, trying to measure the diagonal of a room is where we come up, you
okay,
know,
yeah,
because all right, you do a Pythagorean theorem and like, all right, 6 squared, 5 squared, 61. Well,
hmm
all right, what's the square root of 61? You could figure it
yeah,
out, but like,
yeah,
I
right,
didn't need to know exactly. I needed a ballpark. So yeah, that's about
okay,
when carpenters and people doing home projects might run into that, but that's about it,
yeah,
I think.
all right. Well, this video is applicable because I would like to win the lottery one day. So Peter, if you would like to roll number 3.
What are your chances of winning the lottery? Today, we're going to talk about combinations and permutations. Suppose Wig Aficionado magazine sent me a survey asking for my first, second, and third favorite wigs. I had 6 wigs to choose from. How many different ways could I fill out their survey? Well, let's start with first place. I have 6 wigs to choose from. Let's say I go with the purple. Now it's time to choose second place. I have 5 wigs left to choose from. Everyone except the purple. Let's go with the red. For third place, I have 4 wigs left to choose from. Everyone except the purple and the red. Let's go with the blonde. So all told, there were 6 times 5 times 4, 120 ways I could have filled out the survey. This is an example of a permutations problem. With a permutations problem, the order of the stuff you're picking matters. Choosing purple then red is different than choosing red then purple. For permutations, if you have n objects and you're choosing r of them, there are n factorial over n minus r factorial ways to do it. That seems complicated, but it's doing the same math we just did. I'll show you. We had 6 objects to choose from, so our numerator is 6 factorial. 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And we were choosing 3 of them, so our denominator is 6 minus 3, 3 factorial. 3 times 2 times 1. Cancel out the common factors, and what are we left with? 6 times 5 times 4 is 120. Next, we'll talk combinations. It's the exact same idea, except this time, the order of the stuff we're picking doesn't matter. Suppose I'm going to a math conference next month and I need to take 2 outfits along. If I have 8 to choose from, how many different combinations could I pick? Our logic is about the same. There are 8 ways I could choose my first outfit, we'll go pink, and 7 ways I could choose my second outfit, we'll go green. However, choosing the pink then the green is the same as choosing the green then the pink, and we don't want to count it twice. And so we'll divide by 2 to account for that. There are 28 possible combinations of outfits I could take along. With combinations, if we have n objects and we want to choose r of them, we'll use this formula. It's the same formula as before, with that extra r factorial in the denominator to account for counting the same choices multiple times. With this example, we'd have 8 factorial over 2 factorial times 6 factorial. Cancel out the common factors, and what are we left with? 8 times 7 over 2 times 1, 28. So what are your chances of winning the lottery? In my home state of PA, you must choose 5 numbers correctly out of 69, where the order doesn't matter, and then 1 number out of 26. So each ticket you buy gives you a 1 in roughly 292 million chance of winning the jackpot. On the other hand, each Carrie the One you subscribe to gives you a 100% chance of more fabulous math. Till next time.
I love it. See? This is stuff I need to know. It's need to know information, and those wigs were great.
Right? I have built up quite the collection of fun wigs and fun shoes.
Yeah. How many wigs do you own?
30, I
Ooh.
want to say.
Ooh,
And
that's
like,
good.
I'd say like maybe like 8 of them are like big Jagundo drag wigs. And then the rest of them are like these. These are just, it's a really pretty wig. But like, if I'm going to wear a tiara, well, I don't want the big bouffant. One or the
Yeah.
other, you know what I mean? If I'm going to
Right.
wear one of those big headdresses. So I've got so many other fun headpieces that's what my regular wigs are for.
Oh my goodness. I love
Whereas
this. And how
the big
many good
Jagundo drag wigs are like sort of their own,
Oh, I mean,
they're their own
they're
statement, but like you're not going to wear a headdress or something on top of it.
no, I mean, you could, but that would be a little over then you'd look like the Pope.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
which is it that's a great drag look though. I don't know. I love a good papal
Yeah.
drag look, a little your own personal Jesus thing going on.
I
Sacrilegious, I
grew up
know, but
Catholic, so that's right in my wheelhouse.
yes. Oh my goodness. And now is your family supportive? Do they know about Carry the
They
One?
do, and they don't get it, but they are supportive,
Okay.
which is nice.
I understand.
I think they're delighted that I'm teaching so many people. This isn't necessarily what they would have chosen, but they are supportive, which is very lucky. I'm really really lucky that and that describes most of my guy friends too. Obviously all of my girlfriends are like fucking awesome. This is
Yeah.
the best thing I've ever seen. All of my guy friends, or most of them, I should say, are like, all right, dude, rad. Like, I don't get it, but if people like it and you're having fun, like, obviously that's real cool. And it's neat that you're using your skills to teach so many people. So, like, whatever. I obviously there are people, not strictly men and women, but like that's mostly how that line breaks down.
Exactly. That's the sort of the response. I can imagine. But that has anyone come to you in this time in your life and been like, hey man, can I get some tips?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very much so.
That's
Like
great.
the guys in my life who are just like, say, if a fella was interested, and I'm like, well, yeah, then tell you what,
Ah,
walk me for like a Sunday.
yeah.
We'll make a day of it. It'll be fun.
See, this is what I'm talking about, is just this I don't know. It makes me sad when I see that these sort of strict idea of gender roles and how it really is confining to so many people. And if you just let go of this preconceived notion of you got to fit in this box and that box, and if you don't, then you're going to hell, or you're a deviant or a heathen. I mean, I'm a heathen for many reasons, right?
Yeah,
But it's not
same.
because of what I wear. Okay. Uh,
Exactly.
my life choices make me an absolute godless heathen. But yeah, I think that it's wonderful that you've inspired, and I think that's great that students on the internet and maybe some in your real life, maybe the
Yeah.
ones that have figured it out, probably are like, "Hey, that's really cool. My teacher's so inclusive." And yeah,
What's not to like?
yeah.
Yeah, it is funny. Most of the people ask me like, what portion of the comments you get are positive, and I'm so lucky that that answer is 95%. Except once in a while, one of my videos makes it into TikTok's STEM feed, which is it's cool that TikTok has a STEM feed, but that
Yeah.
means like my video that I posted a month ago will go from 20,000 views to 400,000 overnight, but not of my fans, not of people like who, you like these things, so we're going to give you more of this. It's just, you like STEM? Well, here's some STEM. And they're like, and then it's about 50-50. Then you're like, oh, right.
Really?
It does get
Yeah.
you out of your bubble. Like I can't see people actually really like drag. People are more inclusive and more, and then you see those, you're like, oh, okay, we're not all the way there yet. Like,
It's yeah, it's like the retail version of science communication where you really get the full public.
yeah,
Because I feel I know that I was doing a lot of TikTok
yeah,
lives for a while, and
mhm,
and Instagram lives as well, but Instagram lives didn't really kick to a greater population. It was just mostly people who were following me, so I'm gonna get positive feedback, but I wouldn't get as many views, which is fine. But on
mhm,
TikTok, I mean, I'd get some really mean comments thrown my
yeah,
direction. I was just like, this is not what I signed up for. But you just kind of keep going, hoping that
yeah.
you administrators or what or admin will kind of kick them off. But like, it's tough
They do a
sometimes. The
pretty good job.
troll be trolling.
I know content moderation is really, really difficult. It's
Yeah.
nobody does it great, and but TikTok does as well as anybody. Most of the worst stuff I don't see, but lots and lots of people telling me to find Jesus, which is pretty funny.
Oh man, do they know that Jesus mostly wore dresses? Pretty much.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
like,
Again, I
do
grew up
they
Catholic, and I'm like,
realize?
no part of this hurts my feelings, but it is striking when a video goes to my fans, the kind of response I get, and when the video goes to just the general public, what kind of response I get. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, right, right, right. We are not totally aligned on drag queens just yet.
I know. I mean, if you just look at like, I mean, there's so many facts, well, that just based on the version of the Bible that we currently have, or even, like
Yeah,
the hanging out with 12 disciples, hanging out with sex workers, like really, always wearing sandals. I mean, I don't know if these
yeah.
sandals were wedges or platforms, but I have some thoughts, so I don't know. I just feel like it's you can have fun with it.
Yeah. No, no, those are uh, pretty easy to let roll off your back. But
Yeah.
yeah, lots of people. I think the one that bothers me is hey, you can find Jesus, and it's like, hey, if you don't like what I'm doing, you could just tell me that. I
Yeah.
think there's the cowardice of like, I don't like what you're doing, but I can't tell you that. So I'm going to tell you that this God that I've made up, this guy that I've worshipped, he wouldn't like what you're doing. I'm like, oh no,
Oh,
your
I
version of this guy who lived 2,000 years ago
yeah.
wouldn't like what I'm doing. Oh, my stars and garters. I
Oh my, clutching those
picture
pearls.
me like ripping the eyelashes off. Well, now I feel like an idiot, you know. It's
Oh
like,
my God. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's so funny. The whole idea, I love bringing up, like, God was created all of us, in his image, and God created, Wanda Sykes, Ellen DeGeneres, the entire cast of Queer Eye. God is hella gay,
yeah,
and RuPaul. I mean, come on. God is the ultimate drag queen. And that's great. So,
right. As well, he
right?
should be, or she, whatever.
Absolutely. I know exactly. I'm like non-binary Jesus would be fantastic.
That
Yeah,
kind of makes sense.
like it really does. It actually, yeah.
I mean, I think it is, it's, how can we be surprised that churches all get all patriarchy-y
Mm-hmm.
when, like, God is for some reason male and Jesus is male, and it's like, huh,
Yeah.
funny, funny how that all worked out.
Right.
And then we
Yeah.
like
And
act all surprised, like, I can't believe this is such a patriarchy. Like, well, I can.
I,
It's
uh,
baked right in there, isn't it?
it really is. Yeah. I mean, as an anthropologist, that we talk about just the rise of gender roles, or kind of the gender roles we see these days, starting, and the patriarchy really starting when agriculture came to be, or just sedentary lifestyles, because all of a sudden you had sort of this division of labor. A couple
Mhm.
weeks ago I had on two anthropologists that wrote a paper called Women the Hunter, about how, in prehistory, in the middle Paleolithic, there's a lot of physiological and archaeological evidence that women hunted, right? And
Oh
that
wow, yeah.
yeah, and that, like, there weren't enough people in a small group to have division of labor, but once we had this division of labor, that's when you got these sort of patriarchal ideas. And because you don't see them across the world in all cultures, right? It's just
No.
some of them. I feel like this is kind of the last, I hope, the sort of extinction burst of, this last dying gasp of the patriarchy, really trying to control the narrative of what it means to be, what is a woman, what is male, what is female, and this idea of really kind of cementing gender roles, where, of course, men are on top, and they control, so
You can't hear, I'm knocking on wood, but
yeah. Me too.
yeah, it's it's so frustrating. And again, I'm doing what I can from my tiny little place in the world to try to challenge that, but it's I want to push the fast forward button on so many of those things, and it's frustrating to not be able to do more. I know my friends and I talk with that about that a lot. We're, you know, lower middle class people in some random Pennsylvania town. What can we be doing to be the resistance here? And, all right, be an informed citizen. That's great. Vote in a conscientious way. That's great. We don't have like the kind of money needed to enact political change, really. So what else do we do? And, you know, we've decided, all right, try to be there for your community,
Yeah.
try to be an organizer on a very, very small scale. And, projects like this. All right, we may not have any money, we may not have, but we do have voices. So try to find ways to push us forward. And at the same
Mhm.
time, oh man, to be able to push the fast forward button 50 years on this specific aspect of our society. Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? No, but you are doing, I mean, again, I really do believe what you're doing is an act of resistance in a huge way, because not only are you teaching something to a population where there's a war on education, right? And especially math and science right now.
Yeah.
But you're doing it in a way that also is an affront to those that have a very strict idea of what gender is. You're
Yeah.
sort of confronting that as well. So I feel like it's an inclusive way to get the information out there, which is so
It makes
vital
me
and
happy to
important.
be, to be part of such a joyous piece of resistance.
Yes.
Uh, it is very funny to me to like to see me like feeling pretty in a dress and to think how mad that makes some people. You just really like, gosh,
They're just
I
jealous.
well, yes,
You're gorgeous. So
I do have to laugh. It's the joke I make often. So I told you I do costumes. I also volunteer at a haunted house, which is a ton of fun.
Oh my God.
And so, like, my two major hobbies, one of them involves me dressing as a giant scary clown and chasing teenagers around the woods. And people are like, classic, Americana, a Norman Rockwell painting. And the
Right?
other one, I'm a pretty princess who teaches math, and they're like, you're going to hell. It's like, what are
It's
your
great.
values?
Right, I know. It's kind of like, you can't talk about, you can't show a nipple on television, but we can like
Right?
show, people being blown to bits. It's like that's totally acceptable. Don't care, but
Yeah.
like a nipple, ha! Where
Ah,
food comes from when you're a baby. Ah, it's so ass backwards. Oh my
I
goodness.
agree with you.
I love that you do that though. That's so much fun. Um,
It really
I was
is.
would you ever do a tutorial? Like, would you ever do, one of my favorite things to watch on TikTok sometimes are those lives of drag queens getting ready. But I also
Get
know that
ready with
you're
me.
yeah, would you ever do
Yeah.
that or do you like to keep your personas separate? Which I also very much understand.
I do try to keep like it's funny. It's like I do try to keep my personas generally separate. You don't typically see me out of drag, and like, it's again, it's not a secret, but at the same time, no, I've shot a couple of get ready with me's, and I've never posted them because I just haven't been happy with the quality. I'm like, oh right, like my bathroom mirror is dirty, and I'm just, this is kind of, it's just not as set up as I want it to be. So I need to put more thought into how I want to do that. Because I've had a lot of people ask, and it's like when I was just starting off, I thought I'm not the person you should be asking. You should be asking somebody who's better at it. And now, not that I'm a professional, but I think because I'm not, maybe I can give you, amateur advice. Like, hey,
Yeah.
here's what a not pro does to still pull off a pretty cool look.
Or the math breakdown of like how many attempts does it take to get on those lashes? How many minutes does it take to get your eyebrows in the right like
Yeah, I
I'm
can't
so
tell you
impressed.
how many tries that took.
Oh, these things aren't even hard to put on, and it
Yeah,
takes about 6 tries each, and it's and I there's a lot of cursing, a lot of, wailing and gnashing of teeth. It's a miracle they stayed. So, and they're not even, really fully on. It's fine.
I'd say I bat about 80% of getting my lashes right in the first try. That said, I was almost late
What?
for your show today because I messed it up. I
Ah!
definitely screwed up the lashes the first time. I'm like, this is wrong. This doesn't look right. And I'm like, oh crap. Like I've got to get my, run out to my garage to get all Carrie. I'm in my office, but usually I shoot in
Oh,
my
in the garage?
garage. Yeah.
Oh.
The guy who had this house before my wife and I bought it with the carpenter. So he put a
Uh-huh.
second story on the garage where his wood shop was. And so now that is where all of my costumes and Carrie's studio are, which is a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
We totally lucked out. Yeah. Like
Does your
I could have
wife
made it
ever
work here.
right?
What's that?
Does your wife ever borrow your clothes? Can she?
She cannot borrow Carrie's clothes. She
That's too
does.
bad.
Yeah, it really is. Other friends of mine do. Amy and I are just simply not the same size.
Copy
Uh,
that.
but she does borrow my gloves from time to time. Honestly, I probably borrow more stuff from her. If you ever see me like with like a flower in my hair, like guess where I borrowed it from?
Oh my god, I love that. This is
Yeah,
this just keeps getting better and better.
I raid her closet like when like, oh, I need like a belt. That's just
Yeah,
right. When I started doing drag, it was like, oh my gosh, I need to like populate an entire closet worth of stuff. And you think of
yeah.
like the big stuff. You think of all right, shoes, tops, bottoms, dresses, you know, but like, oh, belts and bracelets and I don't have a purple necklace, but I know who does. Honey,
And
can
it's
I
convenient.
borrow this?
Oh, I love that. That is so
Yeah.
cool. And were you doing the drag before you guys got together, or is this something that has like happened during the course of your relationship?
Happened during the course of our relationship,
Hmm.
and thank goodness she's been very on board, which
Yay.
is lovely.
That's so wonderful. I
I,
mean, why
I'm
not?
right, but at the same time, it's one thing to like be supportive of drag queens. It's quite another for your fiance and now husband to like decide they're doing it. If you're the kind of person who is image obsessed, that wouldn't have gone well. You think you were cool with it, but like, oh, what are people gonna say? And to be with somebody who's been just like, well, that's clearly fucking awesome, is such a blessing. I'm very, very lucky.
Oh, that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
You deserve that. I mean, we all
Thank you.
deserve that, right?
We all
Yeah, the
deserve that. Would
support.
be my takeaway. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is a very random thing, but years ago, I worked on Neil deGrasse Tyson. I used to write comedy for Neil deGrasse Tyson, and we had Darren Aronofsky on the show. And fun
Yeah.
fact, I actually interviewed him on Pi Day years ago. He was, of
Oh,
course, the
cool.
director of Pi. He
Pie,
did not
right?
find that funny. He was very serious, a very serious man. But I had to come up with comedy bits based on this show. And I want you to rate from 1 to 5, and because you're, math
Yeah.
whiz, these log lines for these terrible math movies. So
Okay.
first up, we have Algebros, a buddy comedy about two old college pals figuring out how to get their exes back.
I'd watch that.
You'd
I'd say
watch
that's a
that?
4.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a 4. Uh, Logarithm's gonna get you. This is a heartwarming story of Log getting his groove back through the medium of dance.
2.5.
Got it.
I like the pun, but boy, that's gonna be a tough sell for a movie.
I hear you. Yeah. Oh God, Pythagorascals. Alternate title: The Pythagorean Dream. Oh, I don't know. This cult classic follows the journey of the rapscallion Abe Square and his wily daughter B through Greece until they reach C. Only like only the squares can. We're gonna move past that one. That. I
Did
mean,
ChatGPT write that?
no, that's the scary part. I wrote that before ChatGPT existed, which means I think I am ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. You rip off the mask like I've been a robot the whole
Ah,
time.
I am ChatGPT.
Okay.
Quadratic Equator. This Ecuadorian film follows the journey of an alpaca to an ayahuasca ceremony led by a psychedelic trance DJ named Quadra.
5 on board. Green
Okay.
lit.
I love this. Okay, cool. The Long Division, a cop thriller where a deranged sociopath tries to see how many cops he can fill into an 87-seat black box theater with one remainder.
Who plays the psychopath?
I think Harvey Keitel
Okay, well now I'm on board. 4.5.
or Charlize Theron.
Ah,
Sorry,
still on
that's my
board. Oscar winner Charlize
okay.
Theron. Yeah,
Oscar, yeah, there we go. Exactly.
I'm watching that movie.
Uh, oh God. And lastly, Imaginary Numbers. This psychological thriller follows 5-year-old Sarah as she learns to live in constant fear of having to explain her new friends' imaginary numbers to everyone. That one was really phoning
Mm.
it in.
It sounds a little inside outy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2.5 on that one.
Yeah, no. I think the quadratic equator was really the surefire hit. That was
Yeah,
a
there's a couple of winners in there.
yeah.
I think if you bat over 50% on a list like that, you're killing it.
You're doing okay. Yeah, that was one of those
Yeah.
bits that I pitched in, like, the writer's room, and they're like they loved it, but they're like, "Not for this show." They're like, "Save those for later," and I was like, "This is the time." This was, like, 6 years ago, or no, 8 years ago or something. So, I knew that there would be a moment. Um, well, we're getting to the end, and I just wanna ask you, because the show is called Survival of the Filthiest, and by
Right.
the way, I just wanna to point out, I know the lashes are heavy, and I just wanna say you've done such a good job with keeping those eyes open because I'm impressed. Yeah, there you go.
Uh,
I know. It's like, do you remember Janice from the Muppets?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, that is a skill I've picked up from wearing so many costumes. From I wear a mask with somebody, when you're a gorilla, for instance, like, all right, you're doing all the acting with your eyes. I'm just really used to like having giant, wide open eyes for
Big
a long
eyes.
time. So it's come in
Yeah.
handy for my drag career. Yeah,
No, that's important. I do the same. Well, now with the lashes, I've got little eyes and I have to kind of just
yeah.
fight to keep them open. But I'm curious because the show's called Survival of the Filthiest. What is the filthiest or the wackiest or the wildest thing you've done in the name of math?
Like I said, I've done lots of filthy and wacky things in the name of math. I'm
Usually I
trying
say
to come up with.
science, but
Oh,
because
sure,
you're a
sure.
math,
That's the thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
science. I am forever jealous of science teachers because I feel like, you do a Mr. Wizard demonstration and it's like so interesting live. And like me, if I don't have a whiteboard, like, what the hell am I doing here? Like,
You are the whiteboard. You are the canvas.
that's it. It's much more difficult to I did shoot a video on parallax like a year ago, which is like, how if you're sitting in the driver's seat, it looks like you're going 60 miles an hour, but from the passenger seat, it looks like you're going like 55 because you're viewing that speedometer slightly differently if you don't have the digital one.
Okay, yes.
It's the same way that like we can tell how far apart stars are like from the Earth because we'll
Ah,
measure how far it is away at different points in the Earth's orbit.
okay.
And there's this really cool mural in my town. Uh, it's like all these cement slabs that are like 10 feet apart, and they all have like a little picture on them. And if you stand at exactly the right spot, it makes this great like fresco. But if you're standing anywhere else, the illusion is ruined. And we wanted to do a video about it, and I wore heels into that field about 2 days after it rained.
Oh no.
And the outtakes, my wonderful wife, who was wearing sensible shoes, was filming this. All of the outtakes are me just like trying to get to the next section of to the next little piece of video. I had to give my heels a bath when I got home. It was
Oh.
very funny, but it was also very much a disaster in that sense.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's why, like, platforms are the thing if you're going to a garden party. You wear the
Yeah.
platforms or the flatforms, you know what I mean? You can't wear the heels, unless you gotta do the tippy toe.
Well, now you tell me.
Now yeah, I know, I was gonna say, welcome to being a lady, a
That's
high
it.
heel
That's the
wearing
thing. I was
lady.
like, all the guys I talked to were like, "Oh, I can see that." And all the ladies are like, "Yeah, dude. Like, what do you think was
Yeah.
gonna happen?" Right, 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 right.
Well, I wanna see the outtakes of that video. I think that video would
Yeah.
be fantastic.
So I think
Oh
that's
my
the
goodness.
filthiest. I think for saying anything dirty, Carrie's pretty wholesome, but I did
Mhm.
create a math themed villain. We've only made one appearance so far.
Oh, I
Uh,
ooh.
Her name is Miscalculation, and it is it's me just with like in a black and green dress with like and like black makeup, and I'm just kind of it's anti Carrie. So
Oh, I
she
love
of
it.
course hates math and is always trying to thwart Carrie. And what's fun about it, it's lip sunk by me but voiced by my wife. So it is still me, but she has a different voice because we just thought it'd be more fun than just like me doing an evil voice. Just like it'd be more fun if it was actually somebody else's voice. So she's only made one appearance so far, but we've got the other ones filmed. They'll be coming out soon. So
I
that's
want to see. Oh my
yeah.
god. Yeah, I'm gonna share
Well,
it.
that's
I
quite
wanna share
filthy, but
those.
we have a math themed villain, which I consider filthy because who doesn't love
Yeah.
math,
Yeah, and a miscalculation? How rude,
right?
right? Now, will your wife make any appearances? Is she in performing at all, or is that just not is
Yeah,
this
she her degrees are actually in radio, so she was a radio DJ
What?
for many years, and she's also a community theater actor. If you ever see me like need a volunteer for my video, my line is usually, "I'm gonna make a fox appear out of thin air," and then she just like poofs in.
Yeah.
She does appear from time to time if I need a an assistant, and then she does her own social media channel. She is writing a cookbook. Her mother was writing a
What?
cookbook when she passed like 10 years ago,
Aw.
and Amy's decided to finish it up, and she's making like an accompanying video to each recipe. So it's called Dragonfly Cookbook, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay, well,
Yeah,
cool. We'll promote both because that's
yeah,
I love a power couple, and I love that you got drag
yeah,
in both the names.
indeed.
Dragonfly, math is a
Oh, I didn't even
drag.
think of that.
Yeah, look
Like,
at that.
we do plan a crossover episode eventually.
Yes.
I'll teach her
Like,
some. We'll do kitchen math and make it work out.
oh my God, because I love the idea of like, because the math involved in a recipe and there's just so
Yeah.
much. Ah,
Well,
ooh, I
all
like
of her
this.
mom's recipes were like for one serving, and Amy often cooks for like the whole friend group. So I think we're
Uh,
gonna find like a reason why she needs to like quadruple this recipe. And wouldn't it be convenient if you had a math teacher lying around? So
just
we'll both
living
get
in
some
the
content out
house.
of it. Yeah,
Oh, I love that. Oh goodness. This is amazing. I cannot
yeah.
wait to see more. And we'll have to do more shows in the future. I'd love to have you back and hear about new stuff. And I don't know. I'm just like my brain's cooking because if I take Survival of the Filthiest on the road and if I get myself to Pennsylvania, I would love nothing more than to have a Carrie the One cameo. I would be so excited and honored.
I'd be excited and honored to be on it. I can also I can reasonably get to Philly or New York.
Okay.
Uh, I live dead central Pennsylvania, and what's both convenient and inconvenient about it is 3 hours from Baltimore, Philly, New York, or Pittsburgh. We are
Okay.
exactly in between those. We're not close to anything, but
But kind of close
we're
to everything. Yeah.
exactly in between those. That we're not too far from any of them. So it's
Oh,
a blessing and a curse.
okay. Yes, there will be a time yes, I have people in Philadelphia and New York that I'm talking to about shows, so cooking up some good, math comedy,
Yeah, let's do
some,
it.
quadratic
I love when
equator.
you. What is that voice? I know you affect it in your videos sometimes, and it always makes me happy. I can't put my finger on the accent, but
The behold voice? The behold?
yeah.
Oh, it's just a terrible transatlantic. "Behold, my name
Okay.
is Natalia. How are" Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, because we when you mentioned the fact that you don't change your voice for your character, because I do change my voice for with the Behold
Right.
character, and then I also do a Southern accent because my mom's from the South, but my mom doesn't actually have an accent, funny enough. She lost it. I found it and I picked it up, but, uh, people think I talk that way, and so people get very confused when they meet me, or they see this, and they're like, "Wait a minute. Why aren't you talking like this? Why aren't you doing this terrible bad" At first, it
You
started
don't
off as
talk
like a
like this at all.
yeah, you don't talk and it was like a bad David because I used to when I was in junior high, I would always, "You bloody bastard, what do you think you're doing pissing in my bushes?" I would do this accent, and my best friend, who I think is watching with her daughter, by the way, Ellen and Amelie, if you're watching, hello.
Hello.
Amelie is going into ninth grade, so Amelie, you need to
Awesome.
watch Carry the One's videos. But we used to do this. We'd go to the mall and we'd talk in a bad British accent. We'd go to the Renaissance Fair and talk. Hello, what's your name? My name's Mrs. Strawberry, and we were just
That's
terrible
so much
theater
fun.
kids. It was so
How is
much
that
fun.
not fun? Right.
It was so much fun. Oh my god. Do you go to the Renaissance Fair? Are you a
I
Renaissance Fair
do.
person?
Yeah. The Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair is a terrific Renaissance fair.
Okay, well, when is it? Maybe I need to just come on
We
out.
go it's August to October. We usually go in October. So
Yeah,
we go to one of the Halloweeny ones, which is fun.
this is amazing. Okay, well,
Yeah.
now I've got a plan. We gotta hatch a plan. Little Renaissance. I'll speak in my terrible British accent. We'll make the most of it. Gosh, this has been so much fun. I could talk to you forever. But I also know that you probably need to eventually take your lashes off, or you know,
There's I mean,
they're hanging
honestly,
in.
come on. Oh no, I'm good. I'm typically in this for like I got ready. I usually try to give myself a buffer, and I didn't. I was ready about 4 minutes before the show started. Uh, but I'm usually in this for about 3 hours. So
It's
like till
impressive.
I'm done shooting in the whole thing. I could also talk to you forever, and I do want to let you go, but I'm not dying in that sense.
Okay, good. I'm not here to kill you.
No, no,
Contrary to popular belief, contrary to this haircut, this looks like a assassin hair.
a
Um,
little bit,
so
yeah.
right? So I know
There's
that
Charlize Theron in
exactly.
Black Box. Yeah,
There we go. Yeah, that's and I felt what's her name? Natalie Portman when she did like in Closer.
yeah,
She yes, she had this kind of haircut.
yeah.
I've had the same hair since I was 12, Carrie. Like the same hairstyle. Like it has not
Oh yeah.
changed. So maybe it's time. Where can folks find you? I have the links, but aside from TikTok and Instagram, is that those the main places?
That's the main places. I'm working on a YouTube. I'm just starting to upload stuff there. I've been
What is your
meaning to do
YouTube?
that for the longest time. But that
What is your YouTube called?
same math is a drag.
Math is
It's
a
the
drag.
same anywhere
Follow
you
Math is
go.
a drag. Okay,
Yep.
great. Well, fantastic. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here, Carrie the
Dude, thank you for
One.
having me. This is wonderful.
You're the best. Math is a drag. Please follow Carrie on all platforms. Seriously, you're going to learn so much. And I'm so glad that you were able to come on. And
Yeah.
yeah, and we're going to have to do this again. We're absolutely
I, you invite me, I'll be there.
okay. Next time I have a big bouffant wig. I'll put that one on. It'll be,
Sounds like a plan.
out of frame. I'll wear my 8-inch heels.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You are an inspiration, and thank you to my producer, Peter DeTucker. And here's a
Thank you,
quick
Peter.
reminder. Yeah, Peter's the best. If you liked the show, please like it. Please subscribe and comment. If you have any questions, please. If you want to support the production of this very high profile show, you can join my Patreon. That would be much appreciated. But if not, just enjoy it and share it. Share it with your friends. And next week, I'm talking to my dear friend, Dr. Aisha Khan, who's an emergency physician, a global health expert, and an associate professor at Stanford University. She just wrote an article for The New Yorker about her month in Gaza and a young girl named Sela who gave her hope about the situation there. So, and I want to thank my Patreon folks. I always for okay. We're going to do the Patreon countdown. Okay, thank you, Daniel Wynn, Claude Allen, Tom Skullbeard, Tori Yates Orr, Redding Maley, Dana Logan, Michael Z. Weinstock, David Leitner. These are my Galapagos friends. James Hudspeth, Anthony Zana, Tom Berman, Jen Beverstock, Scott Froschauer, that means frog beater, JSB, Jeff Cohen, Andrea Bloom, and Jonathan Marks. Until next time, folks, stay filthy and have a great night.